Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Ed to order. The emergency exits are to the rear, to the right, and the left. Would you call the roll, Taylor, please?
Robert Toman.
Here.
James Mooney.
Present.
William Ball.
Here.
Krista Barringer.
Here.
Christine Villarosa.
Here.
Susan Gage. Here. Raymond McClary. Scott Polston.
Here.
Timothy Wells.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll turn this over to Mr. Hersey. He has a presentation he'd like to make.
So today we would like to honor our retirees for this year. So first I will start with Ms. Kelder, who has been with the district for 22 years, was appointed as a third grade teacher in 2001, a fifth grade teacher in 2009, and then has been started at principal at Mount Marion in October of 2013. So thank you for your dedication to the students. This is loose, so if you want me to go to you later, I'll do it tomorrow.
That's nice.
That's huge, Calder.
That's nice. You hold the ball. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Ms. Kelder's going to go to her variety show now, so thank you for joining us, Ms. Kelder. Next in attendance, we've got Ms. Renner. She's been in the district for 29 years, started as a food service helper. I'll leave off the year. So Ms. Renner, thank you for your service. She's leaving us as the cook.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Here we go. Oh, nice. Thank you.
Ms. Rogers is here tonight. So Ms. Rogers was with the district for 20 years. Began as a part-time in 2003 and then full-time in 2004. Ms. Rogers, thank you for your dedication to our community. Ms. Miller, there she is. Rosemary Miller has been in the district for 23 years. There you go. Thank you for your service.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
During the meeting, I'm expecting 2 more individuals to stop by after the sports awards. All right. So once again, thank you for our retirees who are in attendance.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the May 9th, 2023 and the May 23rd, 2023 board meetings.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mooney. Is that a second, Ms. Morris?
Yes.
Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Student rep report. I think Mr. Hersey has another presentation.
Sure. So for our last student rep report for the year, I want to print a certificate saying thank you for your time, expertise, and a little present from us.
And then the petitions come out next April if you want to run for the board for real.
Today was the senior picnic at Xena Rec. The senior walkthrough will be Tuesday, June 20th. The BLT building leadership team final meeting for the year was last week. They discussed graduation rates, reduction in student dropouts, improvement on Regents exams. The capital project, the 2-lane road should open this week, allowing traffic behind the school to avoid stressful parent pickup. The senior high band achieved gold at NYSSMA. The Ulster County Executive's Office for Teen Dating Violence and Human Trafficking Awareness sponsored a video contest. Our CVP department and students took first and second place. We also won the anti-drug video contest sponsored by the New York Elks Lodge contest. We are going on to nationals.
And the board appreciates the time and commitment you've made for this year. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Schenker, who's out in Videoland, who has an update for the board and the community on the superintendent search.
It's not in, it's us.
Do you guys have
Can we
audio?
get volume for here?
We're working on the volume. We're working on it. Okay, try now.
You should be good, Joe.
Now.
Check it again, volume.
You're good?
There you go.
All right.
Okay. We're good. Wouldn't be appropriate without a glitch with the virtual, but nice to see you all virtually. I appreciate the opportunity to check in with everybody and virtually. It's a busy time of year, so this assisted me in being able to have a couple of meetings today. I just want to give everybody an update. I will try to share my screen here and run through a couple of slides. My goal is to just cover an overview of the community meetings that took place both at the special board meeting that evening, as well as the opportunity I had to spend the day in Saugerties and meet with several stakeholder groups scheduled throughout the day, as well as the community survey that went out, which received nearly 900 responses. So I'll share my screen. Let's see. Okay, do you see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Again, it was really a wonderful opportunity to look through the community survey, draw out themes that emerged from that survey, and that was dynamic in its response. Even more of a special opportunity to sit with staff members from the Saugerties School District, PTA members, students, and then again the folks who attended the community event that evening. So this is again a summary of the results, constituent group meetings, the community survey, all together, and again really pulled out and kind of coded to look at themes that emerged around characteristics, qualities, hopes, new superintendent for the Saugerties School District. So I had the opportunity to meet district-wide PTA, superintendent's cabinet, union leaders, teachers, and universities, assistants, and food service staff, custodial and maintenance, district staff, as well as community members who came and joined on the evening for the opening meeting. And really, the common themes that were evident, the new superintendent needs to focus on the needs of all children, special education to gifted, honor and trust teachers and administrators as important parts of the team. There was hopes for a visible presence in school and community with frequent communication to all. The ability to listen, hear, and foster mutual respect, to live out the open door policy. Community over and over again was paramount, and the need to be approachable. High expectations for self and all, and really modeling this regarding all the expectations. Again, being approachable, spending time with all stakeholders, and always considering multiple perspectives. Some of the qualities that emerged were to be humble and to not always have answers, but to be able to leverage the expertise of the team. And lastly, a long-term commitment to Saugerties. So the survey collected information regarding community perceptions, regarding the desired skills, experience, and personal characteristics of the successful candidate, as well as strengths of the district, as well as the challenges that the district will face in the coming years. Again, 900 individuals responded to the survey. The largest groups of participants came from really two groups: parents and residents with over 700, and school staff with over 350. Again, there's some duplicate count because school staff can be community member or parents, residents as well. Desired professional experiences: experience as a classroom teacher, as a building principal, and as a classroom teacher, again, emerged over and over. Understanding special education, alternative education, gifted education, some experience working as a superintendent, understanding a diverse socioeconomic district, spent some time as a central office administrator, and really developing and managing capital projects. So those were the kind of professional experiences that emerged to the forefront of the survey. Around professional skills, establishing and supporting a professional climate of trust and respect in schools, providing leadership in teaching, learning, the process, listening to understanding individuals who present different perspectives, fostering high expectations and improving culture. So again, this showed up as in some of the open-ended responses about to move things forward, carry on existing work, skilled in communications and public relations, and understanding the skill in school finance and managing not just short-term but long-term financial health of the district, and skilled in working collaboratively with members of the Board of Education. Skilled in short and long-term range, education care, and understanding policy development. Personal attributes that emerged, visible in schools and engaged in community life. Someone who was, again, this showed up both short and long answers. Someone who was present, part of the fabric of the district. Wisdom, humor, and compassion as it relates to the team, community, and approachability. Positive perspective, an inspirational team builder, someone who's willing to reside in Saugerties, and again, back to that part of the community, stay care for, and be a lifelong learner. Really, summary of the recommendations, kind of across all three of those data points. Positive perspective, establishing climate of trust and respect, exhibiting wisdom, humor, and compassion, inspirational team builder, be visible in schools and engage in community life, a skilled listener and demonstrates understanding, policy development, communication, and consistent enactment, a leader of teaching, learning, and curricular development, understand and lead operations and maintenance, fostered emphasis on high expectations for all, and improve school culture. Really, those 10 characteristics align with the points of emphasis identified in the focus groups, meeting and including, and these four really kind of cross all: frequent communication, the visibility in schools and community, the focus on the needs of all students, and the long-term commitment. So let me figure out how to stop my screen. So that's really kind of high level overview. I have also provided an executive summary for the board, which I believe was shared with you all, about 120 pages of all of the synthesis and data collected. But again, didn't want to have you here till 3 in the morning, going through 120 pages of tables and spreadsheets. That's really those are the characteristics that both the community through the survey, stakeholders in person throughout the day, and the community evening suggested that they want to see in the new superintendent at the Saugerties Central School District. So I'll pause for any thoughts or comments or questions from the board. Bob, if that's not what you want to do, or any other direction you'd like to take it.
Any board members have questions of Dr. Schenker? No, I think we're good, Jonah. We will see you on the 22nd then.
Okay, great, and you know how to get me in between, and we'll keep the timeline moving forward. Appreciate the opportunity, as always, to work with you all.
All right, thanks for the updates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Next up, Ms. Lamb on the dress code.
Good evening, everyone. Would you like me to put the microphone on?
Please.
Hello? Okay. So, good evening. This year I've been tasked with reworking the dress code policy. So first I just want to introduce myself. My name is Kayla Lamb. I'm a school psychologist. I'm also the district-wide CSE chairperson. And this year I'm Dr. Kapler's administrative intern. So if we go to the next slide, I just want to talk about the purpose and the participants. So the Saugerty Central School District, along with the Board of Education, they're revamping a bunch of different policies. And I was just the lucky one who got the dress code this year. So I did form two subcommittees, one at the elementary level, one at the secondary level. We met monthly starting in January. Some of the participants here include teachers, guidance counselors, parents, the SRO came, guidance counselor, I think I said that, Board of Ed members, and most importantly, students did have a say and we did participate. So if you're like me, I'm really interested in understanding the why behind things. So why are we looking at the dress code policy? Why are dress code policies a thing? So I just wanted to give you a super brief summary here. So in 1969, the first court case to talk about dress codes really came to be when students were wearing black armbands in protest of the Vietnam War. So the outcome of this case says, yes, school districts do have the availability to limit student expression. However, not in this school's favor because it wasn't a danger to the other students and it wasn't negatively impacting their learning. So they were able to wear those armbands, but we are allowed to enforce a dress code. So that's the outcome. When we're looking at the dress code that we currently had, it was really important to understand that what we had, some parts were good. It was just outdated. Needed new language, it needed to be reworked, new things needed to be added. So I want to start with what was good and what we wanted to keep. So in our current dress policy are some of these things that were in our previous one. Emphasis that the dress code was developed collaboratively, so a group, this wasn't done behind closed doors. Explanation that the dress code policy, we have to enforce it because we care about students. We care about them tomorrow, we care about them at their jobs, we want them to be professional. Bullet points that provided structure was really important to a lot of the members. We talked about school safety and how it needs to be conducive to learning. And then we also wanted to emphasize that the responsibility isn't just the student, but it's their parent, it's the teachers, and the teachers also have to exemplify what they're seeing and what they're expecting from students. So now that we know what we liked, it was time to talk about maybe what we should change. So we updated a bunch of language. We removed all subjective language, and one example I can remember specifically is there was something in there about too much inappropriate amount of skin. And what that means to me is different from what it means to you, different administrators, students, and parents. So all of that was made more specific. We removed phrases such as grooming and hygiene. We felt this was outdated. We removed the fingertip language, again, outdated and different for all students, not fair or equal. And then we combined some redundant points, so it's just easier to read and the language is just updated overall. We talked about how it needs to be equal and fair, so we removed all of the pronouns. Now we're all just students in the school. We removed gender-specific clothing. This one took us a little while, but it was actually, I'll get to this point later, but it was the students who pointed this out, and it was an excellent point. We wanted to make sure that students were encouraged that if they're uncomfortable at any moment, just ask and you can speak to somebody else. Just ask and we can have a counselor, just to make sure that they're comfortable. And then finally, the explanation that disciplinary actions aren't because you broke the dress code. Disciplinary actions come because you're insubordinate, because you refuse to modify your appearance or be safe. Some of the other things we considered, spirit days. So our old dress code said no pajamas, no hats, but there are hat days, there are pajama days, so that sparked a good discussion. Different sporting events, what we're not allowed to wear in the hallways, but you see it happening at sporting events. We talked about 504 and IEP exceptions. This is very important. And then there was a difference between the elementary and the secondary level. Different ages, different issues, different concerns. We talked about Apple Watches and AirPods. Does this fit in? Should it be a part of the dress code? So all this was good discussion. And then finally we talked about hats. So for student input, I had asked a few of the high school teachers to come together, see if they were interested. It was a government class, economics class, I think a psychology class, and just basically look at the old dress code, the new dress code, create a lesson, have a discussion with your students, explain why this is important, and empower them to be a part of change. So just some basic statistics that I got, there were 51 total students that participated in the survey. 94.1 of them said, yes, I know there's a dress code. So that's a good foundation. It's a good question to start with. Nearly 69% said, no, I've never had a violation. Nobody's ever talked to me about that. But the other 31% who have been spoken to about the dress code, majority of it was hats and hoods. And then 64.7 of the students, that they were in agreement that the updated dress code policy was fair and it applied to all students. And although that's more than half, it didn't sit well with us, so we continue to do some more work. Next, I looked at some qualitative data, so I just asked students, what do you like, what do you not like? What do you agree with, what would you change? Majority of the students agree we shouldn't be wearing clothes that conceal our identity, we shouldn't be wearing clothes that harm us or others, and we shouldn't be showing our private parts or areas. When we talked about what you would change, majority of the students either spoke about hats being allowed, or that although thank you for taking the pronouns out, I feel like it's still geared toward one gender. So with that information, we went back and we reworked, and since receiving this student input and opinions, we considered taking all of those gender-specific items out, so no more halter tops, no more skirts, something that's gender-specific. And we also now allow hats as long as we can see the full profile and full face of the student. So I'm confident that if I give this survey again, that number of 64.7 would rocket way into the 90s, hats alone. But the other All right, and then finally, just to summarize, to go through what's been going on since January. Again, there were 2 subcommittees, one at the elementary, one at the secondary. Each step was collaborative, included a ton of different people from different parts of the building. It even wasn't just teachers, wasn't just guidance counselors, but really anybody who wanted to come. Updates were shared monthly with the policy committee. I also spoke to the building district administrators and school attorneys for feedback. Student input was valued, and it actually informed decision making, which should empower our students and hopefully get them more involved next time. And then student safety was always at the forefront of our conversation, especially when we talk about the hat situation. All right, and next I just want to accept any comments or questions that you may have.
So the dress code is embedded into the code of conduct, which is later on in the agenda.
Yes.
You're going to hate me, but on one of the slides you had said that students, it was sent home that the idea is if they're being disciplined, it's because they're not following direction. So,
I can clarify that for you.
So
sure.
I guess my question is it subjective based on the individual staff member?
So the specific point I was talking about, I'll just read it for everybody to hear. It is the last sentence there. This was put in there mainly because students wanted to know that their fellow students wouldn't be sent home because their skirt was too short. And we wanted to make everybody well aware that you're not going to be sent home. You're not going to be disciplined just for breaking the dress code violation. So I'll just read it and then we can talk after. But students who violate the dress code will be required to comply with teacher administrator requests to cover up or remove the offending item. Any student who refuses may be subject to further discipline, such as due to insubordination. So, Mr. Mooney, can you take your hat off? Not anymore, but let's say we're going back in time. And then that's when you curse or yell or flip a table. Now we have a disciplinary action. Just because you wore something that offended didn't mean you're going to be disciplined.
Thanks.
Sounds like you know Mr. Mooney.
The kinder, gentler Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
I would just say, I'm sorry, Krista.
No.
I just appreciate the work, you know, the fact that you went back and you continued to turn over the pile, so to speak, and flesh out some of that information and some of those sensibilities. You know, it is a living document, you know, just like any code of conduct, and I think your work reflects, within the short space of this school year, the fact that it's a living document, and I think maintaining that approach is really a great approach, and I appreciate the work you've done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be really honest. I saw that the code of conduct was in our sorry, I'm always doing that, but so I like it was in the. Is this really annoying to me? Yeah. I really liked it. So it was in. It's okay. I thought it was just me. So it was in our code of conduct, and I'll be really honest, after 9 years, the code of conduct comes up every year, and it's like, I truly didn't know the amount of change that you have done, so literally I am just bringing it up now. I'm looking at a fellow former board member going, wish you could read this. This is amazing. It is not a long paragraph. I don't know if anybody has the ability to show it to our community and our public, but it's succinct. It is. I am so very impressed. I have goosebumps because I'm a language person. I'm always about what are we saying? What are we trying to convey? And what you have provided us here is outstanding. It really truly captures everything that you've identified here, but also in a way that can be implemented, and it's operationalized so that people are part of the community and part of the understanding of what we're doing here. So just wow, I mean truly goosebumps. You one question though. You mentioned school spirit days. So in a quick, and really truly just a very quick, I'm not seeing where that's addressed in our current, how it's written. So how is that addressed in there? Because I do see where you say inappropriate is clothing you would wear at home. Going back to pajama days.
Yes,
so how do you?
absolutely. This is, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. And that's the first time I ever heard somebody getting goosebumps over a dress code.
You can't see them.
So going back to that, a lot of the spirit day things were addressed by making those changes that I discussed, and a lot of this was discussion among each meeting, which was great.
So it's more about like current practices kind of violate our dress code. So we need to be mindful while making the dress code of different things that go on in the buildings.
And if we talk about your point, in-home use, that's pajamas, right? So again, by taking out the specific, if we said no lingerie on pajama day, that's common sense, but then that would be a gender-specific item. So that's when it's up to the teachers and the administration to say that pajama is inappropriate. It will, like members said, it is a fluid document. It's going to continue changing. However, that hasn't been an issue in a while. Maybe. So we'll, day by day things, they will happen and they will be addressed. Building level and, yeah. Thank you. I do just want to say I didn't do this alone. There was a lot of people involved. There was a lot of parents and students, and Dr. Ursig was there every step of the way too, so thank you.
Ms. Lamb, you mentioned you were a school psychologist. I was a school psychologist. You were an administrative intern. I was an administrative intern. And then I became an administrator. So after you become an administrator, this is your future. So welcome in advance.
Thank you. All right, thanks again.
Thank you, Ms. Lane.
Thank you.
Next is recognition of service to board members, and Mr. Ursig's secretary has put sheet notes in here. It says Dr. Ursig has certificates and plaques.
You're not supposed to say that. All right, so first we want to thank Trustee Barringer for 9 years of service with the board. And Gage for, I believe, 6 years of service.
Next it says Dr. Ursig will say a few words on behalf of Jessica Riazzi.
Yes, so I just wanted to, once again, so Ms. Riazzi was awarded the 2022-23 Distinguished Friends of Education Award at the Ulster County Board Association dinner last month. If you know her, she is somebody that I would love to clone. Whatever she gets involved in gets done to the top degree for sure. She is someone that has reinvigorated our park program. I'm sure you've seen some of the stuff that goes on about that. And she's very passionate about gardening. So wherever she lands, there's a garden popping up. One's at Cahill starting for that. So thank you, Ms. Riazzi. Congratulations again.
Public recognition, any member of the public wishing to approach and speak to the board, feel free to come up to the podium, state your name, residence, and feel free to speak.
I'm Katie Emerson Haas. I live at 64 Washington Avenue in Saugerties, and I want to thank Ms. Lamb for the work she did. I want to, for any new board members who are here, to say that it just takes a long time to make change, but this change is worth it. We started really sort of diving in because I was sort of disturbed by sort of just like, yeah, the code of conduct every year, yeah. And I was like, what is in here? And then I had a student in the high school, and she was like, this dress code's crazy. And so anyway, so that began years ago, and then other people came, and we had leadership who said, oh, that's a great idea. Let's have students involved. Let's engage in a collaborative effort, even though it takes a long time. So I just want to thank everybody who was part of that. I also wanted to come tonight to thank Trustee Barringer and Trustee Gage. So it was a pleasure serving with you, and thank you so much for your service. And then to welcome the new folks, and to thank Tim for running again, because I think that really helps with a 9-person board. It can take some churning, but I think it helps to have some stability. So I just wanted to thank everybody, and then thank the other trustees who are here, because it is, you don't get enough thanks, and it takes time and a lot of energy, and so thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move to the Code of Conduct, public hearing. Dr. Ursig?
So at this time, if anybody wishes to speak about the public hearing, about the code of conduct at the public hearing, you're more than welcome to.
Once, twice. I'll move to board member remarks.
If I could just interrupt, I see another retiree who just popped in, Mr. Melville. So Mr. Melville has been in the district for 21 years, started as a PE teacher in 2002, happened to be the year I graduated. He's been a coach for golf, basketball, football, so thank you for your years of service. Thank you.
Now board member remarks. Ms. Barringer?
So I just wanted to thank everybody after 9 years of service and lots of meetings. I appreciate so much the people of the district. And I want to name everybody, but then we'd be here all night. So if you know, y'all are amazing, and you all do the work of our community to a level that I wish I could show to everybody how amazing the work is that goes on here in Saugerties. I do look forward to continuing as a district rep for Ulster BOCES, so I can hopefully continue to bring what Saugerties does to BOCES, as well as hopefully bring some of what I learned from BOCES back to Saugerties. If I was asked the #1 piece of advice I would give any future board member, it is to network. Network within the district as well as outside the district. When I first came on, I was told, we don't talk to other people. We don't go to trainings. Board members just come to board meetings. And I have to tell you, that was the one thing that has really made the 9 years amazing, is learning from so many people, not just my fellow board members, but board members around Ulster County, board members around New York State. The wealth of information I've learned from so many people is just truly amazing. In my last email for the BOCES update, I discussed the adult education offerings that we have. I really hope to see more of those kinds of things happening here in our district. But I also saw the amazing experiences that were had by our Skills USA students from Ulster BOCES. Skills USA is sort of that National Honor Society competition that happens at BOCES where they go and compete with each other across New York State. We had a number of our Ulster BOCES attendees win state, either in first, second, or third place, but also many are now going on to nationals in the competition, so it's an amazing experience. And I think witnessing success has probably been one of the highlights to being in this position, to see so many individuals, people I knew, people I got to know, and success of what they've done over the years. We have graduation coming up, and that is the one event every year that I so look forward to, and that I get to see all the work come together and the pride that comes across the stage. That is the reason we're here, is to see all students, everybody achieve and come across the stage, and whatever it took to get you there, you got there, and our community, which is what we represent, gets to be there to watch you. And that, I truly love graduation. And that's the success. And then the successes that we get to read in all of our papers, and I hope that for all of our future board members, we all get this monthly, and sometimes I don't get to it as often as I want to, but the on-board newspaper from New York State, oftentimes we in Saugerties get highlighted. So not only are we sharing the experiences here in Saugerties, and we're sharing it with the taxpayers and the people here in Saugerties, we're sharing it across New York State. Everybody's seeing it. Our legislators are seeing it. Our governor is seeing it. People are seeing that it's happening here in Saugerties. And I'm so proud to see these come across. And there's so many other things that come through that I realize I never even thought about until it came across in the paper. And it's what's happening here in Saugerties, and we're doing it, and I'm seeing it highlighted as best practices, and then I'm realizing, but we're already doing that. So then I realize how well Saugerties is doing. So witnessing the success again has been probably the best thing about being in this position, second only to asking questions. I love asking questions. And sometimes, just for those who don't know, I ask questions I knew the answer to. We often ask questions ahead of our meetings, so we already get the answers. So sometimes I'd ask the question only because I wanted people to know what we've done and how amazing our district is, because we got to hear it, but the public didn't get to hear it. So sometimes I would use questions as an opportunity just to inform others, and so that people would know that the information we're getting to make the decisions that we're making, we're getting those answers. We're getting to know what's happening with our district. So it's not just a vote. We are not just passing things through. And then I'm going to continue to be here to share the stories of BOCES, to share what's happening from our students at a BOCES perspective. And because I'm going to keep coming, I'm sure I'm just going to keep asking questions. I'm just going to ask them on the other side of the table. So, thank you.
Tough act to follow. Who's next?
Okay.
Okay.
Get both of the people that are leaving done. I'm not as off the cuff as she is. I had to write my speech, so. Today I'm filled with bittersweet mix of emotions as I mark the end of my 6 years as an elected Board of Ed trustee. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve the Saugerties community, and I am deeply grateful for the trust the community had placed in me when they elected me for 2 terms. Together we have embarked on a journey of progress, collaboration, and dedication to the betterment of our school district. We have faced challenges head-on, we've celebrated victories, and worked tirelessly to make a positive difference in the lives of Saugerties students. The path we have walked together has been one of growth, resilience, and shared aspirations. I want to extend my heartfelt appreciation to all the individuals who have shared their concerns, their hopes, and their dreams with me. Your voices have guided my decisions and my unwavering commitment to our shared vision, and it has been the driving force behind every vote that I've made. It is you, the community, who have been the true architects of the changes we have witnessed over the last 6 years. Throughout my terms, I have been fortunate to witness the remarkable resilience and strength of our community. In times of adversity, we have come together, demonstrating compassion, unity, and a shared sense of purpose. It is this spirit that has made our achievements possible, and I have complete confidence that it will continue to inspire progress long after my departure. As my time as an elected official comes to an end, I am reminded of the responsibility we hold as a school community. While I may no longer be your representative, I encourage each and every individual in our community to remain engaged, to raise your voices, and to actively participate in shaping the future of our students. Your continued involvement is vital in ensuring that our collective aspirations are realized. I will carry the lessons and experiences, both positive and negative, with me as I embark on new endeavors. Rest assured that my morals, values, and principles that have guided me in this public service will continue to shape my actions and contributions to the Saugerties community. In conclusion, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you for the privilege of serving as your elected official. It has been a tremendous honor, and I am forever grateful for the opportunity to make a positive impact on the lives of all our students. Thank you, and may our paths cross again, intersecting as we work together to build a stronger, more inclusive, and successful future for our students. And I'd like to end with 2 quotes from John F. Kennedy. "Children are the world's most valuable resource, and it is its best hope for the future." And let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a private hope or dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. Thank you all.
So I'll follow up you guys that are leaving us. Well, I guess first and foremost, I'll start with you guys since you just let it off. I came on the board when you guys were voted in for your 2nd and 3rd term. And Sue was actually one of the first people that I met in person because we got sworn in together that day. Welcomed me with open arms, and I appreciate all that you've done. The board is losing 2 significant members that contributed immense amount of just questions and knowledge and thoughts and different perspectives that I learned a lot from. As the first term on the board can be a bit overwhelming, to say the least. It's almost like kind of drinking out a fire hose, basically. And to have Krista ask questions that maybe I didn't necessarily know the answer to, or I didn't even know maybe I should be asking those questions. So it was always appreciated to kind of hear you guys and your insight and your thoughts to kind of help continue to mold me into being a better board member as well. So as you mentioned earlier, as far as networking, well, I had a great network inside as well. So it wasn't just outside for me. So thank you both for your time here. I look forward to continuing to see you guys, whether it be out in the community or on the other side here, standing here asking questions.
We'll be sitting with Kate out there.
There you go. You'll be like your own second board over there. Second off, I'd like to thank all that voted for me to get reelected and to put their trust in me on the board here. I really am super, super grateful to get another opportunity to sit up here and kind of continue to, do the work that we've been doing over the past 3 years and moving forward for the next 3 years. I think that I'm I'm more ready for it at this point, where I've got a better footing and I have a better understanding of the workings of the board and the school district in its own. So I'm super excited about the next 3 years as well. I want to congratulate Carol Kelder and Jeffrey Yahtzee on getting elected as well, and also thank Andrea Viviani and Ashley Sanders for running. I hope that they stay engaged, and there's another opportunity next year for 3 more seats. So I hope not only are they engaged, but other people continue to be engaged with the board, the school district, and the community, and we can continue to grow and get better. Congratulations to all the retirees. I wish nothing but the best to all of you. I thank you for all of your time here, and have an absolute wonderful retirement, hopefully. And then lastly, I want to thank Ava, but she obviously kind of beelined out of here as quickly as possible. But thank you, Ava, for being the student rep. And since I probably won't be planning on speaking at graduation, I look forward to the graduation of the class of 2023. As Krista kind of mentioned before, as a board, this is kind of the culmination for us as well. This is when we get to see all the hard work that's put in here and all the hard work that those kids have done, and kind of see them stepping into the next levels of their lives. So I'm super excited about that as well. Thank you.
Kristen?
I guess I first want to, again, also extend my congratulations to the retirees of Socrates and their many, many years of service to our district. I want to thank both Trustee Berenger and Trustee Gage for your years in service as well, and your expertise in hearing you for the last year as my first year on the board as well. It's been very helpful. I want to thank or wish the teachers and staff who are ending their school year a restful summer. They've worked hard this year, and I'm sure they deserve a great break. As we are finishing, this school year, I want the district. I would hope that the district will reflect on the reorganization that occurred, because this is the first school year where we are had experienced the closing of one of our elementary schools and reorganizing our elementary schools. And I would like to make sure that we are getting some data as to where we are in accomplishing the goals that were set out with that reorganization. The good data, because I'm sure a lot has come out of that, but also the things that may not have worked so well, and what things can we improve on with that reorganization, are things that I would like to see. And I've asked many times over the course of this year on where we stand with the financial savings. We closed this school and redistricted and reorganized our district because of a fiscal gap, and we were told that the district would save a significant amount of money, and I think we just passed another budget, and I think it's important that we get the information as to what we actually saved from reorganizing the schools. Thank you.
Bob, is that me? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. So congratulations. Obviously, June is a month of many different types of congratulations. I'd like to start, and I know Ms. Berenger has been a part of the Ulster BOCES board for quite some time. I'd like to congratulate all of the Ulster BOCES students that graduated just recently. Having worked in a BOCES, and I've shared this publicly a few times, I won't go on and on, but having worked in the BOCES environment, it's really especially rewarding to see students that are benefiting from perhaps something that they haven't seen before, a different approach, whether it's simply learning, with their hands-on, a hands-on approach, kinesthetic learners, or simply a different style, of instruction, and sometimes even just a change of venue. But all these students are extraordinary students in their own right, and I'd like to congratulate those graduates. And I'm going to throw out a special congratulations to my cousin Riley LeMay, who was a salutatorian for Ulster BOCES this year as well. I'd like to thank the 900 plus participants in our survey in terms of developing input and feedback and talking points for the superintendent search. To see that despite the fact that sometimes we look out on the board meeting, and I know Mr. Tillman has mentioned this in the past, Oftentimes we see people, come out to a board meeting when there's a particular issue, that's been brought to the forefront. But to have 900 people participate in a survey like this is pretty extraordinary. And I know Dr. Schenker said that as well. So thank you to all of those individuals for their participation. That information is obviously going to inform all of what we ultimately do here as we continue the superintendent search. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Gage and Ms. Barringer for their work on the school board. As Tim mentioned, I thought the fire hose in the face was a fantastic, analogy in some respects. But being on the board, I'm a public school administrator and have been for many years. But being on the board, obviously, you're taking it to an altogether different level. And it's a new level of learning and a new level of perception and a new level of appreciation that you develop. And I think that knowing, Ms. Gage, I wish you the very best, and I hope you and Pete enjoy all that time with the grandkids. I know that's going to figure very prominently, at least in your day-to-day schedule. And Ms. Barringer, I look forward to your reports, as a BOCES representative. So thank you both for your service. And I'd like to thank the retirees. Now, I know there were a lot of retirees that were mentioned, and I'm just gonna, with no offense intended to anyone, I'm just gonna give a shout out to a few because I have worked with them. So I'd like to thank in no particular order, Coach Melville, who was somebody that I worked side by side with, as well as coached many, if not all, of my children in one form or fashion or another. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Kelder, who, in her work as a teacher originally down in Riccardi, again, another individual that crossed paths and interacted, in our years raising our kids in the district. I'd like to thank Coach Zarella, a personal friend, a mentor to my children, and an extraordinary, all-around, extraordinary human being, and wish him the very best as well. And lastly, I'm going to mention Ms. Kakilo, who is not here, but how many years was that, Dan?
It's like 40 or so.
Okay, I won't quote the number of years, but it was a lot, and I suffice it to say, how many?
42.
42. I could probably get lost in my comments going off the cuff here, but essentially, it boils down to Ms. Kakilo was one of those teachers for me, right? So the student that comes late or doesn't understand the value of course 3 or doesn't see any application whatsoever, if she found a way to reach me personally, back during those years, and she did it with a particular grace and a particular humor and a little bit of, a little bit of an edge, just enough edge that you weren't sure if she was teasing you, prodding you, poking you, but ultimately she produced the desired effect, and I know that she did that for a lot of students. Both my wife and I were her students, as well as all of our children. So a special shout out to Ms. Kakilo as well as all of those retirees. And the final thing I'd like to just say is, we talk about living documents all the time, and I appreciate the work that was done in the Code of Conduct. But again, coming back to the theme about participation and hearing people come out to the meetings and share their thoughts and sentiments, the district is a living district, right? So even though some of these meetings can be pretty dry or pretty, sometimes maybe the business is just pretty mundane or pretty routine, the fact of the matter is it's a district that can and will respond, right? We do see 3 new board members that are going to be coming on in July. We had new board members. Well, Tim's not new. 2. We have new board members from last year. So the fact of the matter is people should not think that because at any point in time the board didn't agree with their sentiment, or the board cast a vote one way or the other, that it means that they shouldn't still have an opportunity to participate. We are a living district, and we expect the feedback, and we value the feedback, and I hope the feedback really does not ever end, because this is your district. Thank you.
without repeating everything, congratulations to everybody on your new journeys. I would like to thank everybody that was involved with prom. I heard it was a very successful prom, and kids had a good time. Okay. And to the graduates, this is probably this is the first graduation I won't be in attendance since I've been on the board. So I've been to 7, and it's a great day. It's a great celebration. Even if you don't have anybody that's graduating, even lining up for the parade that the kids do through town afterwards, it's a good time. So I just wanted to say one thing to the graduates. And for some reason, this quote from Hope Floats, I don't know if anybody remembers that movie, comes into mind. Beginnings are scary, endings are sad. It's what's in the middle that counts. As they're starting a new chapter in their life, I know it's probably, tentatively, scary, but have a good time. Don't have too much of a good time. Make sure you study, and make sure you find out where the library is. If you do, you will be successful. And I would also like to thank our 2 trustees who are leaving us. Ms. Barringer, she was part of the change that started everything. Her and former trustee Ferraro. So it's about 10 years ago. So thank you for taking the shots and for making it possible for the rest of us to come on. And one of the things that I can say since your start is that we definitely have more people at our board meetings. I don't know if it's to hear you talk or ask questions, but I definitely think people are more comfortable coming to the microphone. So thank you. And Trustee Gage, you are just a cornucopia of knowledge that we are losing. And I hope, as the parent of a special needs child, I can still call in from time to time for advice. It is definitely greatly appreciated, and you guys will be missed. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll move into board president's remarks. I think I've been on the board probably longer than anybody on this board. I was on, I think I came on in 2011, and after my first 3-year term, I said, that's it, I'm not going to do this ever again. What was I thinking? And then I met Ms. Barringer, who was elected to the board after I left, and attempted to convince me throughout the next year that I should come back to the board. So, Kristen, I won't hold that against you. But you're certainly an inspiration. I watched you go through some of the same stuff, and Mr. Mooney's right. You and Mr. Ferraro helped to change the culture of the board. If you can think back to how it was, and it was pretty wild. If you came on the board, you were attacked. You were attacked verbally. Your bosses were called to work. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't happen anymore. And you were part of that change, so I think that's something you can be very proud of. Ms. Gage, you've came up with one of the quotes that I'll carry around for the rest of my life. You wanted a band leader, but all we got was a DJ. And I won't give the context of how that came out, but that's one of those things that's always stuck in my mind, and it's useful in many different social situations. When I saw a social media post about one of the new board candidates being congratulated, they were being welcomed by a member of the community who shall remain nameless, but the person said, congratulations, you're finally getting on the board, and not like those other board members who don't care about students or their community. And as president of the board, I want to tell you that I've worked with each and every one of you, And at times we've disagreed, but there is no doubt in my mind that that person is so misinformed that you do care about the students in the community. You've backed it up with your personal time, you've backed it up by your dedication, and it's something to be proud of. Switching gears for a second, I know Mr. Wickham and Ms. Hayes are here. Last week I had the privilege of attending the student CVP awards ceremony, and oh my gosh, what a tremendous showcase of talent that we have as our student body. So much has come from that program in the last several years. I've watched students who I've known who've been shy, reluctant to participate in school, and special needs students included, who have an anchor now, who have a reason to come to school and have a reason to be successful. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Wickham and Ms. Hayes for all the work that they've done throughout the last several years of developing this program and really making it a state-of-the-art program that's exemplary to high schools around our region. On May 23rd, I was up in Albany. I met with Governor Hochul's Secretary of Education and various legislators. And one of my pet peeves in seeing that, you might have read that the governor has proposed a $9 billion budget. Unfortunately, in terms of mental health and talking to board members and administrators across New York State, there's a real crisis of mental health. It was brought on by several circumstances, COVID being one of them. Kids feeling isolated with virtual learning. There's all kinds of data about female students feeling anxiety over school. Recently I read about how the black children's suicide rate is significantly higher than white children. There really is a mental health crisis across our nation. Unfortunately, the governor proposed an increase of $10.5 million in mental health services, but it's in the form of competitive grants. One of my pet peeves is that all children have a right to mental health. It should not be based on your zip code. So the legislator is going to meet for another week. I would urge you to contact your legislators and not have mental hygiene competitive by your address, but by have it as a right for all students. And I believe all students have a right to mental health, and there's a great crisis where that is certainly needed today. I think I want to congratulate the retirees. I want to congratulate the people who have come out tonight to be part of the board meeting. Our administrators have worked hard. Today was our last full day of classes at the high school. I also look forward to graduation. It's a culmination of a lot of things. It's been a tough year getting through with the reorganization and all the ancillary things that have happened, but it's been a good year nonetheless. So thank you to everyone for all your efforts in making this year possible. We'll take a short break and reconvene in 5 minutes.
Before we do, though, we've got our last retiree in attendance, Mr. Zarella. Come on up.
Thank you.
So Mr. Zarella. Athletic record since 2014, one of my personal favorite coaches ever.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate all you've done. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
love this presentation every year because it really showcases all the incredible efforts and really thanks to all of your support. So tonight I'm going to tell a story. And tonight the story is about growth. And just like with our own children, there's growing pains, and sometimes there's celebrations, and sometimes there's pain with growth. This is our story of this year of what we've accomplished. Okay, so we've had a year of intentional leadership, intentional teaching, and intentional learning, and all of it has been based on the PD plan, the administrative professional development, and also the PD for teachers, which has been very intentional. It's been based on the data, and it's been research-based, and it's been based on the students and what we know that they need, not just for tomorrow, but, as I've said, for years down the road. So part of that is the visioning. Are you clicking?
I'm not clicking.
You're not. It just like jumps 5 slides. So the visioning for 2045 and where we came up with that is our current kindergartners, you've heard me say this, they're going to be at the prime age of the workforce at age 28 roughly in 2045. So as we're thinking about our needs for this district, we need to think about that year. Because thinking about today and tomorrow just isn't good enough. We need to ensure that they have the skills. So when we look at what all the current research is saying, the skills that they need are right there on the right. So that was a huge focus this year in our work, in our learning. So we began with visioning. This is just a recap. I shared this with you in January, the portrait of a graduate. We need to go deeper into that work next year, and I really look forward to that work. Another foundational pillar is the philosophy of literacy that teachers developed in collaboration. It wasn't just the ELA lead teachers, but we invited social studies teachers and also ENL teachers, anybody in the humanities. And they're really proud of this statement. And this is our North Star for guiding us fiscally, guiding us with decisions of PD, decisions of read alouds, everything. And our values and beliefs. Literacy is equity work and it is a human right. All right, so what does all of this look like in practice for educators, the adults? So I'm going to take you through a journey. It begins with our principals being lead learners, and it begins with our principals actually not facilitating a faculty meeting of checklists that could be in an email, but engaging their teachers, staff, everybody in the whole building in learning. And they did this. They really rose up and did an excellent job. It also requires some intentional learning from the teachers and TAs of more hands-on collaborative work as opposed to more sit and get. I'm going to get comfy in the dark auditorium, take out my iPhone, see what's going on Amazon. No more of that. We are hands-on, minds-on learning for everybody. So to that end, we had an incredible opportunity this year to form a pilot team to really engage in sustained professional learning through Ulster BOCES and High Tech High in San Diego. We had a PBL team. And 2 of them are here, actually 3 of them are here tonight. They're going to come behind the curtain, I think. So Jackie Hayes.
I actually like the Oz thing.
Yes, it was a little Oz.
So I wanted to say that being included in the High Tech High project-based learning program made me a better teacher. I could stop right there. It made me a much better teacher, not just because of what I learned, but because I felt respected for being included, for being recognized. Scott and I have been doing project-based learning, me for 25 years, Scott for 30 years, in the business education department. So it was really nice to be acknowledged and for people to recognize that what we are doing makes our students really successful. So the HTH, project-based learning, solidified my methods. Most teachers, I think, are doing this in one way or another, but the guide really solidifies and improves your methodology. It helps you organize your thoughts and your methods and what you're doing. So the title that I would rather have now is facilitator rather than teacher. It's more work for me before class and after class, but for 41 minutes, I'm just facilitating my students thinking and researching, problem solving, and doing their work. Most teachers, I think I can say, are sort of territorial about their classrooms, and we really need to stop that. I now open my classroom to what PBL calls community partners, and I can talk for an hour on that, I won't. It's really my favorite part of the program, that is what has made me a better teacher. I now open my classroom to community partners, and I participate in other classes. This year, during our prep period, we can go and participate in other teachers' project-based learning projects. Food science had cupcake wars. That was great. Business and financial management had a food truck race. SEM had a competition to host a women's coaching clinic. Earth Science did a national parks search where we would go in and evaluate their presentations for the real possibility of visiting a national park. So these are the kinds of things the kids are doing. It's not just a project. It's not just making a poster. It is research for the purpose of, I don't want to get into all that, but yes, it is tremendous, and it makes me a better teacher that I have others come in from the community, from the school, parents, and that I can go into other people's classrooms. And students, it's good for us to see students in another setting. It's great for students to see us coming in. They know that we care about them. And I'll bookend this. If teachers feel they are being cared for by their employer, they will work harder and be even more dedicated to their district and job. That is how I have felt all year. Being included in this has made me a better teacher, which directly benefits my students.
I'm gonna sum it up with one word. It was validation. When we went to, I wasn't fortunate enough to go to San Diego. I had to go to Key West because my daughter got married that weekend. When we went to New Paltz, it was the validation of what we've been doing for all these years. Now, I do understand that we're not constrained to a Regents exam, and I think that's one of the biggest sells for a lot of the teachers is that they're always teaching to that test. But they don't have to do that. And I think during my sessions in 2017, we built paper airplanes, and I had it wrapped around, their curriculum and how they could adapt that paper airplane to their specific discipline. But it's been alluded to, I've been here for 30 years, and one of my mantras is finish strong. And I think that's what I'm trying to do now is I want to keep gaining this knowledge because I can't discuss it tonight, but I really have a really big PBL project that could involve the whole district over the next few years. So I'm pretty excited about that. I did pitch it to Tim Reed. He does know, and but that's going to be forthcoming as we go through this year. I want to finish, my 32nd year as strong as I was, my first and second year. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about teaching, and like I said, the one word I walked away with was validation that what we were doing for all these years is exactly what this is about. So I'm pretty excited about it. So thank you very much.
as well. Hi, I'm Chelsea Pino. I'm an administrative intern with Dr. G this year and also a science teacher here. And I was lucky enough to go to High Tech High as well. Prior to working in Saugerties, I worked at a project-based school in New York City. And one of the things I was most nervous about when I left my school in the city was that that approach would not be welcomed in a different area. And getting to go to this PD with my team was just transformative. And to just echo what Scott and Jackie said, it really has changed everything for me here. So thank you for the opportunity.
So along with this team was also Ian Cooper and James Speccio and Mr. Reed. And what they did was they would attend the sustained PD throughout the year at Ulster BOCES. Mid-year, funds were allocated for them to actually go to San Diego, see High Tech High, have intensive PD there with the highest level trainers globally. And then they spent the year working with me on the superintendent's conference days. And all of us together planned the days. And they turnkeyed what they learned. So it was teachers teaching teachers, very authentic. And here we are. I'm not going to talk for every single slide. One of the things we wanted to cultivate was teachers talking about their professional practice and talking about what did they learn, right? And so you can't Google this because it's a prototype I've been working on for 2 years called Spark Talks. And what we did was create little tiny conversations around a table. And the idea is, it came from a Native American idea where instead of having huge raging bonfires like what you're seeing, but making a small hot fire so you lean in and you're listening to each other. And that was the concept and prototype of Spark Talks. And we did it 3 times this year. We did it in November with secondary. We did it in March with elementary. And then just now in May, we did it K-12. And that was wild and great because some of the stipulations were the AP teachers had to go visit a kindergarten teacher and vice versa, because we wanted a whole community of Sawyer learners. There is something to be gained from listening to your colleagues, no matter the content or the grade, and get out of your silo or get out of your siloed content. So the teachers would share with me what they wanted to do, and then they would create a little setup. Some people came with banners, some people just came with an iPhone. It's very loose. It's a riff on EdCamp. And then the last time we did it, it was very extraordinary because we had 2 principals do it, and there's Carol Kelder right there. And she was sharing how she used data in her BLT and used students. And geometry was a focus, and I'm going to talk about geometry later on when we look at the data. So we'll come back to that, which was great modeling. And here's what it looks like. The tic-tac-toe math was very popular. The other way it looks like for adults this year is we really began to look more at student work. So the ELA lead teachers were working on a common writing rubric. The math lead teachers were coming back to common benchmarks. And when teachers are looking at student work together and student data, but particularly the student work, it is so rich and so important to our craft. So really providing time for that has been very successful. And in May, what we did was we had a full conclusion of an entire loop. So a year ago, we began work on pacing guides. Pacing guides is just calendaring. That's all it is, just saying what you're going to do when. With the iReady, particularly in math. And then we revised it. We finished the loop, came back to them, said, okay, what worked, what didn't work, and what are our priority standards? And some of the feedback I had was that was the first time at Saugerties that the entire loop, the cycle had been completed. That should happen every single year. It shouldn't be just left open. So we're looking forward to more of that. Okay. Another process is our grand rounds. MTSS had sustained PD as well. So Sue, I'm so delighted looking at you, knowing that you were part of the beginning of this process, but grand rounds in an authentic way, and we're not there yet. We will be, but when Sue and Carol Kelder began this process, it was a riff off of the medical model, looking at the student data, everything from social, emotional to academic needs, celebrations and concerns. What does this child need? So we had a year of really coming together with IDA, a consultant, Tanya Bosco, and our theme for MTSS was moving out of silos and working as a district team. Next year we're going to continue the work, but we need to do more instructional work next year. So what are the instructional supports in the MTSS? And we're hoping to really refine those protocols in grand rounds so that we've talked about this over and over again. So the way Cahill is facilitating it is not really any different than Morse or Riccardi or the junior high. So that's our goal, and we're on our way. This was so exciting to me. At the end of the year, this just happened a couple weeks ago, and this is evidence of teachers really embracing learning. This required so much courage and vulnerability that this particular teacher sent out an all-call invitation to all his colleagues saying, I have a project, I'm going to be in the high school media center, please come see my students. And that was awesome. He was busy all day with students coming and from various classrooms, all different contents and all different teachers. But when we have teachers visiting other teachers, that is the highest level of professional development, and that's where we're headed. And I was so excited that this just happened organically. He put himself out there, and he was exhausted at the end of the day, but it was totally worth it. It's also principals working with teachers in collaboration with the instructional coach. So we have 2 literacy coaches, we have our 2 math coaches. They've pushed up to the junior high because that's a need. And we also have science coaching happening as well in the elementary with the implementation of the NISA standards. What else does it mean? It means that they're presenting regionally and at state conferences. So Dr. Jen Schlaver was presenting at the New York State Reading Association, smooth, so calm. She had just had her car stolen about an hour right before then, texting me, I can't believe I have to present and my car was just stolen. And that's what they do. Chelsea presented at Staney's. Peter Mora presented at the Hudson Valley Mohawk Regional Math Conference. And last year, our DEI team was invited to speak at the Mid-Hudson Leadership Institute. This year, our PBL team, the team you just heard from, was invited to speak at the Mid-Hudson Leadership Institute. So Tim and I are definitely in, and it will be volunteer for these guys, or whoever wants to join us. But we're definitely doing it. So that's the adults. This is the exciting thing. This is what it looks like for students. When all of that is in place, here's what it looks like. It looks like students who are activists. This is at the YES Summit, and Anna Millison brought these 4 students to go to the Youth Environmental Science Summit. This is a global summit. There are students from all over the world there, and it's very empowering. They create projects all based on sustainability in the environment. It also looks like our elementary students have a voice and can create change. So beginning last year, you heard a lot about our Students for Change at Cahill. Well, to continue on with that story, they presented at the Kiwanis Club. Then I asked them to come in and present at the Instructional Advisory Council, which is my monthly meeting for assistant superintendents and deputy superintendents in the county. Out of that came an invitation for them to present at Vassar College with World Savvy, another global organization, and Ulster BOCES spearheading this. So all of this has had a profound impact. And from them being there, Sue McManical and her team there is now advisors for a team of students in Newburgh to do the same work. That's a profound ripple effect. This was such a glorious night. Dr. Ursig and I were so proud, and we had our first science research symposium that Chelsea DeFino spearheaded, taught. She's going to share some of the highlights right now, but I just want to share the research, the data, the high level of questions. Some of these students, it was better than my colleagues' dissertations, right?
I agree.
It was, their research was spot on. Can you just share a few of the highlights and the expectations of these students?
Sure. So this is part of the New Albany Science Research Program. So the students who presented are 10th graders, and they will be continuing this program for 3 years. And it's their goal over the 3 years to design a high-level science project. It's really on par with what graduate research looks like. They have to find a mentor who will help them carrying out their project, collect all of their own data, and then their goal eventually is to publish a scientific paper on their results. So this was their first year in the project. Some of them have their mentors already, and some of them do not. But they all made scientific posters and had to give talks. And we were expecting maybe 20 people to come, and in the library that evening we were standing room only. And it was just amazing to see these kids, as Dr. G said, present really, really, really high-level work. It's the goal of kids in this program, like they should know more than me, their science teacher, by like December in the program. So that's why they need a mentor. And some of them like way surpassed my knowledge in the fall. And they just really dove so deeply into topics that they wouldn't get the chance to explore to this depth in a regular science class. So that was really, really exciting as well. Thank you.
Except just a few of the topics they studied, because even the topics would blow your mind.
It's hard for me to do justice, but we have students looking at management of very specific invasive species in New York State. The student on the screen presenting wants to look at what parameters of Hubble's constant affect dark matter and dark energy's effect on the universe. He kind of lost me there by like September. We have students looking at how certain hormone signaling molecules in the brain affect Alzheimer's, wanting to develop their own robots. Just the span of things is really, really incredible and great to see.
For sure. These students are the ones we want to be curing cancer, being our doctors, being our engineers, working at NASA. So that night was such an exciting night, and when I saw that the library was packed, it was like, yes. We also had some unexpected things that happened. So when you're creating this culture of learning and things are beginning to shape and that people want to write about it. So our 8th grader, Aubrey Lang, she wrote about her experience at the Yes Summit in the chronogram, and it was published. She's only in 8th grade. Everything in your slide deck there is hyperlinked, so maybe later on for your reading pleasure you can check it out. And then Sarah Elia, an ENL teacher, is now an author for Edutopia, which is a fantastic resource for teachers. She actually has published now 3 articles, not 2. Really interesting articles on welcoming newcomers who are ELS students, and also the importance of world languages in the elementary. We had our seal, New York State Seal of Biliteracy this year. We had Palak did hers in Spanish, and then Titi did hers in Thai. That created a little extra effort. We had to find somebody who could speak Thai at a very high level, and we did. And that was great. Rhonda had to find somebody who could speak Bengali, so we're all in there. But this is a very exciting program. The SEAL is a special designation that goes on their diploma that tells colleges they went above and beyond their course load. This project wasn't just doing a slide deck. It's also in the moment answering questions in their second language that they've learned. For the Seal of Civic Readiness, which is brand new this year, they have to do hours of service, they have to do writing reflections. There's all these components of extra that they have to do. So it was exciting that we have about half a dozen this year for who will receive the Seal of Civic Readiness. And there they are. Also exciting was that Chelsea started the Science Olympiads, and they made it to states. After school, I loved watching them practice in the hallways. And then I think it's also important to note that we're still carrying on with a lot of the historical traditions here in Saugerties too. So the sugaring to make maple syrup is still happening. And it's a great tradition, and it's another prime example of experiential learning. Our arts continue to be growing. One of the things we've done this year as a cabinet is we saw a need to create ensemble performance time at the elementary level. So for example, prior, the elementary chorus in elementary, they were not rehearsing together. It was kind of scrambled right before the concert, and that is not ideal. They will never learn how to play in tune or sing in tune or in harmony if it's off, if they're not having intentional rehearsal time. So we did that, and that's really important because they are feeder schools to these, to our high school and our junior high that produce these beautiful performances such as Into the Woods this year. Okay, K through 6, specific goals. We're still really tight and focused on what we're doing for literacy and math, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the program, you're teaching the child, not the program, and who's in front of you, and you need to differentiate. So with literacy, it's whole group read aloud with accountable talk, small group differentiated instruction, not just by level. If you always are doing it by level, students know. And then eventually the students who are in the low group, that can potentially create some shame. So you differentiate it by strategy or skill as well. We are not there yet. I'm just telling you, we're not there yet. We're on our way. Explicit and direct phonics and morphology instruction. We're there. I'll show you in the data. We're doing great work there. Independent reading with conferring, and writing as a process, not an assignment. So that's a big part of also the PBL work. It's a process, it's a continuum. In math, consistent in use of the iReady classroom, which is the program we use, and increased use of differentiated math centers. We're on our way. We're moving, and the data will show we're moving, but we still have a lot of work to do. This was a Great Wall of China lesson in 3rd grade where they were making the Great Wall of China with sticky rice and rocks. And Mullins Construction came in as their community advisor. for the students. It was a great day. This is Number Talks, and this is what is going to help us with our algebra data when I show it to you in a second. We need to build fluency with our students and conceptual thinking with our students. So, you know, and all working, it begins when they're 5, 6, and 7, and 8, with bonds of 10 or bonds of 20, and even games like Go Fish. It helps. And the more we do that, the more it will help. So with our students, what we noticed this year is, in addition to their activism, the other thing that's really on their heart is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It matters to them. And they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to ensure that their friends are seen and heard and that their voice is heard. So the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, we've been working on a belief statement. Why do we need a belief statement? To anchor us, to get really clear about what Saugerties believes and values. And also, in the Hudson Valley, there are a lot of people who come here, and we want their children not just to come here and go to a private school, but we want to be a shining beacon in the region of, no, we value this, so come to us. We worked on the belief statement. Anna Millison and Alexis Bulich helped me with working with 2 groups of students. So I worked with 2 groups of students, and after working with 2 groups of students, the belief statement came together swimmingly, and it's very powerful. And it says, the Saugerties Central School District believes all humans possess inherent dignity and worth. The Saugerties Central School District is committed to fostering individual identities by creating a safe and supportive environment in which all individuals are seen, heard, and valued. The Saugerties Central School District will foster learning opportunities that build respect, empathy, and connections to each other, the community, and world in pursuit of inspiring our students and staff to be agents of positive change for diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice in the world. It's powerful. This will be a focus next year and really anchor our work, because right now, that's words on a page. And it begs the question, how, so what is the action? What is that going to look like in the hallway? What is that going to look like in a 7th grade classroom? And that's our work. All right, so what does the data say? The next 3 slides I'm going to go through very quickly because Mr. Reed has already shared them with you. But I am so happy to report out to you that I was meeting with him today, and one of the exciting things that's happening due to his intentional master scheduling and also giving special care and priority to students with disabilities, along with support from Dr. Kapler and Marlene, is that you'll see that our special education population was at 68%. And this year, and this is for ELA, this year we're pushing towards 90%. He's still crunching the numbers. That's incredible. That is a trend to really celebrate. All right, algebra regents. This is very low statewide. As you can see, 66%. And it begs all these questions. So why is that? And you could go through 5 whys protocols. And that's why I wanted to show you the pictures of the students playing those games. It's not just games. It's really teaching conceptual math. Even those students who are building that Great Wall of China, that's science, engineering, and math. It's so many things. And all of that is important to building the foundation of algebra. If our students don't learn fractions, they're not going to be able to do algebra. That's our work. Countywide, we're doing really good in algebra, but statewide, we have a lot of work to do, and it's really important. In our math department is very strong. Our math lead committee is very strong, and we are doing a lot of vertical work which is really helping us understand what's happening in kindergarten and primary, which will help us understand what are the gaps and what do we need to fill, and what are the grades that we really need to give special attention to. So speaking of that, we're just going to jump ahead here to the elementary school, and this is just a scatter plot. It's just giving you a really big bird's eye view of what's happening here, and essentially in ELA, we want to be in that right quadrant of high performance and high growth. We do have an outlier. I know exactly what grade that is, and we are working on it, and there will be a strategic plan created with the principal and some teachers about addressing those ELA needs for that particular grade. In math, you can see we're emerging. We're not quite there to that right quadrant yet, but compared to where we were 4 years ago, we've had a lot of movement. All right. So in iReady reading diagnostic, the green is good. I just heard somebody go, whew. Green is good. And the line underneath is the beginning of the year. So we have the bold line up at the top and then underneath. So we have made significant growth. That's the trend and that's the positive. But I am going to be real with you because it's really important that we not be intimidated by data, hide from it, or hide from the ugly data. Our reality is we still have 40% of our students are reading below grade level. At the beginning of this year, we had 68%. So we've made tremendous growth. So when you go down to those domains, like phonics, comprehension, vocabulary, you can see the most growth is happening in our primary grades. And a lot of that is because we are doing explicit and direct teaching of phonics and morphology here. And we're going to be adding foundations next year to 3rd grade. That's good. Okay, so this is the pre and post, ELA, and the green is September and the purple is June. And basically the story continues to be that K-2 has the most growth. Again, and if you think about it too, like there's so much that they're absorbing and learning. You can see certain grades that I hope you are wondering, how come there's not that much growth? And then you can see, like, for example, in 6th grade, they started out really low, but then they had tremendous growth. So that's due to many things. Extended school day, more implementation of, moving away from just novel study, but very text, more standard-based teaching. So the story is, our work moving forward is in 3rd through 8th grade. That's our story. And you can see which grades need targeted intervention and support. And we will be spending some time doing more explicit PD on how to differentiate, small group instruction. And the reality is, and this isn't a Saugerties thing, this is a national thing, when we went to school as teachers, we were not taught how to explicitly teach reading. That's the reality. Nobody wants to talk about it, but very few are really experts at teaching reading, and we are really training up our teachers so that we want them to feel confident. We want them to know how to assess the students so that they can teach our students how to be successful, because literacy is equity and a gateway for success. Okay, the math. Here we go. So in September, 82 were below grade level, 82%. Now we have 47% below grade level. So we're filling the gaps, at least by half. Geometry was a focus this year. We still need to give it a lot of attention. I'm going to be doing a data dive into that. We changed some of the pacing guides, particularly in 4th grade, and moved geometry to the beginning. If we don't move geometry to the beginning of the year, it's neglected. It's at the end of the year, and geometry is not shape. Geometry is so important. It's so many things. It begins at the block center in kindergarten when they're holding the block. And it also helps with fractions, which will help with algebra. And then in math, you can see here we have our pre and post. You can see, once again, sixth grade had some extreme growth. And when I look at these grade levels, and then I look at the data of which grade levels are taking PD, working with instructional coaches, and working with their grade level teams, they're having the highest success as well. So this is kind of interesting, and this is a slide that I don't have any answers to, but it is something we're going to work on at the admin retreat. So you can see that from 2019 all the way up, we're growing, we're growing, we're growing, and right now we're kind of stagnant. So why are we stagnant? What's happening? So this summer, when we're working with the administrators, Dr. Ursig and I will do a data dive with them through some multiple protocols to dig deeper, find out what's going on, what are the instructional needs. So last year, when I finished this presentation, I said, this is what we're going to do. And except for one thing, we did it. We did every single thing on that list. So what comes next this year? So I alluded to some of the things. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't, it's okay. Because the whole left side is what we're already doing. We just need to go deeper. This year was a lot of great work. But with adults, it takes adults a while sometimes to come around and try something. Students are much more courageous and willing to try things. So as we go through and do the deeper work through intentional planning, collaboration, it's really important that as we look at this data, the reality is we can't stay the way we are. We have to continue to stay student-focused and student-focused on students' academic and social, emotional, and mental health needs. It's absolutely imperative. So to that end, I want to leave you with the question that what if Saugerties does become one of the top 40 schools in New York State? It's possible. We're moving. There's a lot of positive trends in the data. There's a lot of gap and a lot of need, but there's certainly enough talent here and certainly enough expertise. So I'm putting it out into the universe that we are on the precipice of greatness and we can become one of the top schools. Okay. I know you're tired, but any questions? And I also want to say thank you to you so much.
It'd be nice if you could change that to when Saugerties becomes right.
Tomorrow.
I wanted to thank you. We, earlier in the board remarks, you heard Ms. Barringer talk about our history on the board, and I think you can remember, Krista, back to a time when education and curriculum was left off the agenda and there was nothing to report. So even though your presentation was long, it was very thorough, and it's greatly appreciated because education is our business, and you're certainly taking care of it, you and your staff, and I commend you for that.
Just for people who might not have been here, when you started at the beginning of the year, some of those low test scores were COVID related, right, from kids at home. That was, as a positive thing. I guess my question is, are we doing what we can to provide you the resources to continue once the kids are caught up to get to that top 40?
Right now, we have resources. We do. That's why we were able to have the pilot team work with the Global High Tech High. We have resources. But here's the thing, and Jane will say this, because we are capitalizing internally so much on utilizing our people, like I do a lot of the PD, Chelsea does the PD, Scott Wickham, Jack, they're doing it. Our instructional coaches do a lot. We're not spending a lot of money on a $10,000 keynote. What we are spending on is Wilson training for all special ed teachers. That's a more intensive approach that helps with literacy. So we're being really intentional about where we're spending money. But I feel really supported from the board. I feel really supported from my superintendent. And certainly when Jane said, you need to spend the money. I've never had a business official ever say that to me.
Thank you. I just had one question. I know that when I speak to other people in other districts, you're very highly regarded. And I think that's awesome. It's that, you know, it speaks for itself. Are we working with other districts to kind of create, I guess, like a fluidity to raise the rates, not just here, but in the county as well? Because maybe something's working in another district that we can steal, or if they can.
Yeah, I love that question. So we're still in this mode of it's so much more comfortable to do PD virtually, you know, from our home. 10 years ago, I was the person countywide leading a lot of those charges, countywide. I have been in conversation with Wallkill. They have a lot of the same priorities and needs, particularly with literacy, of getting our teams together, looking at student work. Also, the PBL pilot, they weren't just with the county, they were with teachers from all over the nation and so forth. But we need to do more of that. Do you want to speak? You look like you wanted to speak to that. Okay. So that's one example. Also, there's some things that we, like responsive classroom. We are going to have to work with another district for that. They want so many people in order to come and fulfill their contracts. So I'm working with Ulster Boats for that with our department of New Paltz. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Education is a very static process. I'll entertain a motion to approve items K, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moved by Mrs. Gage, is there a second?
A second.
Second by Mr. Paulson, discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I want to congratulate Ms. Parchman, who's out in the crowd, who just received a tenure.
On behalf of the Board of Education and District, thank you for all you've done for our kiddos.
Thank you.
Also out in the audience is Mr. Tran, our newest elementary principal, who was approved.
Mr. Denise also is in the crowd. He will be our new phys ed teacher between Cahill and Grandy Morris.
I would entertain a motion to approve items L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
On item 7, I just want to make a notation that the first amount is $531,617 and not $431,000.
So moved. Yes.
I would like to make a motion to separately discuss L8.
Okay, so the motion would be to approve items L1 through 10 with the exception of 8. We'll discuss 8 separately?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Polson. Discussion? Items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve item L8.
Second.
Motion moved by Ms. Belrose, second by Mr. Moody. Discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to separately discuss this particular resolution in respect to the corrective action plan for the extracurricular funds. This corrective action plan is coming out of the internal audit risk assessment that was done for the 21-22 school year. And that risk assessment looks at various aspects of school district operations. And one of the things that they look at is the extracurricular activities fund, which is an issue in all districts because it's cash related and it's run by students. And so there's usually going to be some sort of findings within that area. So one of the findings that was in the report that we received last month was an observation on the extracurricular activity funds that says the district maintains club funds in the elementary schools and occasionally uses these funds as flow-through accounts, which are not allowed or recommended by SED, not allowed or recommended by SED respectively. And I completely agree with that. I don't think any extracurricular activity funds should be used as flow-through accounts. There's specific controls and processes that need to be in place against all extracurricular activity funds. But I think removing the accounts at the elementary level is removing a financial tool at that level. You know, there's a focus on financial literacy, K-12, and our elementary schools have a higher level. Not all elementary schools have a 6th grade. Our school has a 6th grade. And I think by removing elementary accounts completely, we're losing a tool in our toolbox. And I think that, you know, those accounts should have the same controls and focuses as any extracurricular account. And, you know, be limited to use of those older grades. You know, we do have a 5th and 6th grade student council. The student council approves a treasurer. They vote in a treasurer. You know, not having an account to say raise money to donate to a charity or things of that nature, I think is very important. So for those reasons, I just can't support that first line of the corrective action plan. Thank you.
Any other further discussion?
Just for clarification on that, it says it's recorded in the general ledger software. There's not a balance accessible to the student government then?
Not at the elementary level any longer.
So my understanding is the money goes into a general fund?
No, we eliminated the extra classroom activity funds at the elementary level at the end of last school year. So I think there may be some interest in the account, and we're waiting for some checks to clear, but other than that, it's done. It was all spent at the end of last year.
No one back here can hear anything. Like, we can't hear anything. We hear the air conditioner, but we don't hear anything else. So.
Sorry, I may not have the microphone on. Sorry.
Yes.
So just to clarify, or just to briefly put my point is, I think that controls should be in place at the elementary level, like any other extracurricular activity account. There are controls that are supposed to be in place, and I truly believe that they shouldn't be used as flow-through accounts. I understand that, but I think removing that tool as a financial literacy mechanism at the elementary level when we're a K-12 district, I can't support wholeheartedly just removing the account without the consideration of maybe enforcing the controls prior to going to that level of corrective action.
So, Jane, my question for you, are there any implications of not accepting the controller's recommendations?
Well, this is a recommendation made by our internal auditor, which he's made several years in a row.
So just so everybody hears, right, so this was a recommendation made from our internal auditors for several years in a row. That's when the accounts were closed and money was spent at the end of last school year.
Correct.
So the accounts no longer exist.
So then, Ms. Bello, you're asking consideration that they be reinstated at some point, or that you just can't support this?
I just can't support the recommendation. So if the will of the board supports it, I can agree with that, but I'm just voicing my concern as an independent board member.
And then you could bring those concerns up at subsequent audit committee meetings to look to see if there can be a resolution to your concern. Ms. Barrett, you want to say something?
Nope.
Okay, so I will call for a vote on L8, and then there will be a roll call vote. Taylor?
Robert Tillman,
Yes.
James Mooney,
Yes.
William Ball,
Yes.
Krista Barringer,
Yes.
Christine Bellarosa,
No.
Susan Gage,
Yes.
Raymond McClary,
Yes.
Scott Polston,
Yes.
Timothy Wells.
Yes.
Motion carries 8 yes, 1 no.
I'll entertain a motion for board action discussion items. Items M1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Moved by Mrs. Gage, is there a second? Second by Ms. Bellarosa, discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Committee reports, audit committee,
No report.
facilities?
Mr. Polson, you want to give the report, or?
Yeah, report.
I was not there. I do have your minutes.
I'll just pull up Eddie Bonnet. All right. The floors are picked out for Cahill. The installation is going to start this summer, June 19th, the Juneteenth holiday. The window removal and the sill replacements will happen at the high school. The week of the 19th is a big week for deliveries, and that'll kind of set the schedule for the summertime. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody involved. The scheduling continues to focus on disrupting the students the least, and then the next meeting is July 5th at 5 p.m.
Mr. Paulson, Policy Committee?
Just next meeting, July, did we do that the week after?
Yeah, so next policy meeting will be July 11th before the board meeting.
Public recognition. Any member of the public wishing to address the board, please approach the podium. None being heard, I'll entertain a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wallace for a second. Second by Mr. Paulson. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for coming out tonight. We will come out of executive session to adjourn the meeting, but we don't anticipate voting on any other items tonight.
I have to see how this
You're welcome.
school project is coming along, so we might end up staying up
I
till
will
midnight.
entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
Where's Bill?
Wells. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gage. Any discussion? None being heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gage, second by Ms. Barringer for her last second. Any discussion? None being heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Congratulations, ladies.
Yes.